How's everybody doing today? That's what I hear. Cheers, folks. Y'all get yourself a beer. The more you have to drink, the more entertaining this is going to be. I brought some notes on my tablet here. So I guess probably a good place to start off here is we're going to get to know everybody a little bit here, so we all know who we're dealing with on this strangest looking round table I've ever seen in my life. We're just going to go through and have everybody introduce themselves. If you guys just want to give everybody a quick blurb about where you're from and what you do. We'll start off with anybody from Langdon on the stage there. Why don't we start off there?
Oh, I am.
The one struggling with the mic over there. Anytime you're ready, it's fine.
Can you hear me okay?
Got her.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Dugdale, and I am a grain farmer from east of Calgary in the Chestermere-Langdon area. We primarily grow wheat, peas, canola, and barley. After university, I returned to my family farm, and I really took on the job of doing pretty much every gopher job imaginable you can think of. But I had an opportunity to really shadow my dad and my uncle and learn the business of farming in that time. The business continued to expand, and so did the complexity of the business. And as it did, I really found that this was a time for me to just really listen and observe and work really hard. But I was a little frustrated because I never felt like I had too much of a voice at that time. So as time went on, as chance would have it, we had some of the absolute worst weather events over these past 6 years, which many of you are probably pretty familiar with on your farming operations as well. And for us, these tough seasons were also accompanied with some pretty big shifts in our management team. So while this presented a pretty big challenge for us, it also gave myself and then other members of our team an opportunity to just really level up in our leadership and become part of the key decision makers on the farm. So currently, honestly, I feel like I'm right in the middle of my story right now. A lot of days still kind of trudging through the mud with things, but I do feel very optimistic about the direction that our farm is going. I'm super thankful for the team that I get to work with every day, and I also feel that I have more of a voice and a place in shaping the farm for the future now.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Let's move on to the best dressed on the stage from the geographical center, unacclaimed, of southern Alberta. Craig?
Greg Stamp with Stamp Seeds. We are a seed farm, myself and my two brothers. I take care of the seed sales and marketing. Crops that we grow would include lentils, peas, faba beans. How much time do we have here? Flax, canola.
Don't worry, I'll shut you down when it's time. I've got the mute button.
The barley, durum, wheat, soft wheat, what else? Winter wheat, hybrid rye.
That's enough, Greg, move on. Yep. Thanks,
we
Greg.
can go on. So, happy to be here, thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Greg. Now from a town that's competing with the population of Tufnell. Who's going to have to explain where they're from? Somebody from St. Vincent? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm Lynn Dargis. I farm up by St. Paul, Bonnyville area, northeast of here. And I am also, the proud owner and maker of Farm Bucks. And so I do that as well as grain farm. I also have a feedlot, which actually is empty this year. I think it's a good thing. We could talk about it later. And I took over the family farm when I was 20 years old and been farming since and had a lot of fun, been through a lot of ups and downs. Because I did take it over after my parents suddenly passed away. So it was like an instant succession plan, no plan. We had to figure it out. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, thank you, Lynn. And now a gentleman that can be found wondering why he drives every day between Rumsey and Trochu.
And Trochu, yes. So I'm John Kowalchuk, and I'm a grain farmer, and I farm at Rumsey, like Quick Dick said there, and I drive from Trochu every day, live right in Trochu. So I guess I kind of took over from my dad back in the 90s and took over the grain farm and started kind of in there, kind of at the ground floor, helping out my dad, and then took over, and then just in the last 5-6 years, all of a sudden, been able to do things through social media and be able to share stuff on my farm. So I try to do that quite often. So you'll find me at Kowalchuk Farms on Twitter. And I guess that's kind of the thing that's kept me engaged in farming the last few years, is just being able to reach out to people and kind of share what I'm doing, and it makes it fun. So that's kind of my story.
Right on. Thanks, John. And you'll notice that Greg is also the best dressed from the ankles up, and John has got his brand new go-to-town work boots on. So thanks for dressing up for this. Appreciate that. Now we're going to move on to the worst-looking one of the group. When he told me where he lived, I was like, oh yeah, that's a neat place to be there. Been there a few times. Closest to the trade fair that we got going on here today. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself there, bud?
Hey everybody, my name is Wade McAllister, local farmer, farm 10 minutes south of here with my brother. Scott and I came back to the farm 10 years ago. Right out of high school, I started flying helicopters, and my brother's a journeyman millwright. Everybody asks, why do you guys quit great paying jobs to go back to the farm? And lots of history on our farm. We just turned 130 years old this year. My brother and I are 5th generation, born and raised on the same piece of property that my great-great-grandpa came over and stuck his stake in the ground. So very honored to continue on his legacy. Grow a lot of malt. If it will malt, we will grow it. Oats, soft white wheat, barley, and thanks to my brand new hoodie here, I now am growing fall rye from Greg, so excited to try it.
No plugs allowed.
Thank you all for coming out tonight and today, and hope you enjoy this.
Awesome. Okay, so just a big thanks to Jeremy and his team off the start for bringing us all together and putting this on. I don't think anybody can say they've been to a trade show in the last little while, so this is actually kind of nice, and a big thank you to everybody out there doing their part on keeping things safe here. And this is actually I was worried leaving Tufnell coming here, because I was like, there's more than 5 people in this place. But everyone's done a great job. You know, you haven't had that one guy coming up with spit on his hand trying to shake your hand and everything, so thanks for that. I'm gonna lay down some ground rules for this little show here, because I don't want it getting out of control. And I know, you looking at me there, you let things get out of control. There's gonna be no talking over each other. I don't have a mute button, but I will throw my microphone at you if you're talking for too long. If you make fun of somebody, they immediately have the opportunity to make fun back of you. Okay? No swearing. Who wrote these rules? No swearing? Especially you, Jessica. You keep a lid on that trucker mouth that you got there. And there's going to be no bathroom breaks. So, John, I hope you hit the throne before we got up here, bud. We're going to be here for a little bit. I'm going to come on down front and get comfy and up close with everybody here. Personal, 6 feet away from you troublemakers over there. See you looking at me like that. So we're just going to have a conversation here about a couple of things that are going on in ag, and I'm not sure why I've been chosen to moderate this thing. I'm going to let these guys talk most of the time. And then when this is all done, we're going to try and hopefully have some time for some question and answers. So I might not get to everybody on every topic. And we're just going to go from there. So I'm going to start the conversation. We're not talking about the weather, because everybody talks about the weather all the time. We're going to start off with some agriculture stuff. Actually, I want to start off with you, Wade. So in retrospect to how consumers view agriculture nowadays, like how would you say we're doing in agriculture of representing what we do to our consumers?
I think we're doing better. Obviously, social media is a great way to show everybody, the general public, what we're doing on the farm, and I think we can do better at it. I think we can really tell our story. We should be proud of what we do and how we're doing things, and the food that we're growing, and doing a safe job at doing that. One little thing that my brother and I did is to just kind of close the gap between the consumers is we wrapped our combine with a massive brewery logo, and it sparked a lot of attention actually, and actually overseas somebody recognized that combine, and we actually got to travel to Germany 2 years ago and speak and promote Alberta farmers, especially Alberta barley farmers. We grow some of the best malt barley in the world, and we're being recognized by that. So, and that was a machine that was wrapped, seen it on social media, and boom, I mean, we were in Nuremberg, Germany in November, so it was very cool.
Awesome, great. Thank you for bragging that you got to go to Germany. Appreciate that. Lynn, would you be able to comment maybe towards maybe the agriculture side of cattle producing in something of that situation? Feel free to stick with grain if you'd rather, but.
Well, I just think any chance we get, I like to show friends and family what we do on the farm. So I'm all over social media too, as much as I can be. You know, you get a little busy or frustrated. It's not always the easiest thing to show. And showing some of those frustrations kind of maybe explains to the consumers a little more about what we actually go through on a daily basis. So it's kind of nice to still take that extra minute to record it and show it. Because I have friends myself. I was telling these guys last night that, you know, even good girlfriends of mine, they don't know what canola looks like. They come in the combine, they look in the back window, and they're like, why are you combining dirt? I'm like, that's not dirt. You know, that's the money, right? So there's lots of explaining there to do. But I still, you know, on one point before I forget, I wanted to ask Wade where that red combine was going, since I think you're getting rid of it.
Yeah, I gotta tear the logo off.
Yeah, no plugs for whoever's going to wrap the next one for you here, okay? From a seed grower's perspective, Greg, how would you say that we're doing with, like, you deal on maybe a bit different of a level with consumers being a seed grower, so like, could you talk about how we're doing with maybe people that are directly involved that you sell to as agriculturalists?
Yeah, as farmers, we have consumers, people that import and use our products. As a seed grower, I mean, you're the customer. So, and it is challenging. So when you have the one-on-ones, it's easy to explain what you do. So with social media, you can say, okay, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it. But probably a lot of you don't necessarily know or care about from the breeder to the certified seed level and all the clean outs and the failures that happen there, where one variety is not very popular and you've spent a lot of time and money on it and it doesn't go anywhere. So I think, you know, a farmer's level of frustration with maybe the consumer sometimes is also felt, you know, say from the seed grower, retailer that's selling to farmers that don't see what happens behind the scene either that way. So I think we have to look at ourselves a little bit too and say, well, we're just the same as those consumers that are buying and eating that food a little bit. So, and then when you realize that, then you go, okay, how do I solve that? And it's just like with John, okay, well, you tell them what you're doing and why you're doing it. And when you have those one-on-one times, that's when you can really get into it and get past that initial kind of high, broad social media post.
Yeah, awesome, great answer. I guess along the consumer line of things, Jessica, you kind of deal with things on a little bit different of a consumer level because you guys do a lot of stuff, you know, farmers markets and things like that. How do you feel that you guys do with getting across that you're bringing good product to your consumers at, say, something like a farmers market? And do you find heavy competition there, or do you guys work well together with each other?
Well, so just to give you a little background on this, a couple years ago, my sister and I got a little adventurous, and we decided to branch out and start a really small-scale garden business where we began growing cut flowers in our garden and then bringing them into the city in our vintage flower truck, Eugene. And we just found that at these farmers markets, we were having some awesome conversations with customers, and they continued to always go back to, you know, how are these flowers grown? Tell us about the gardens, tell us about the story there. And we just really found that, you know, while we really enjoyed these conversations, part of it was missing, and that was the grain farming side of things and the cattle, and there was just more of that story to tell. So that following year, we hosted our first farm-to-table dinner. And what I can really say about that experience is there's two parts to the conversation. I feel like there is a part that really, you know, when you're talking with consumers, it needs to be the rationale and dealing with the head and the logic. But then there's also the part that appeals to the heart through the stories, you know, through those authentic experiences and connections when you're in person. And I just really found that bringing the people out, that was where, you know, it was a little bit vulnerable for us, but that is where I found that we had our best connections made at the time.
So going off that, John, like, would you say, do you have a specific set of technology that you use, or maybe a skill set that you use to try and help promote your product to consumer? Or would you say you try and sell your product more, say, to, you know, your Viterras and things like that? What's the avenue you take to try and promote what you're doing to your customers?
Well, I guess in the broader term of customers, you're thinking of the consumer in general. So I think that's where sharing the story and getting kind of everything out there for people to see kind of what you're doing and hopefully promoting the whole industry. On a local level, of course, you have different companies you're dealing with, elevator companies and stuff like that that you're selling to, and for them, I think it's just keeping a good relationship. So it in a way, it's similar. So you're actually cultivating a relationship on both levels, locally with the companies you deal with
I
directly.
see what you did with the cultivating joke
Isn't it?
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry, I sold the cultivator a long time ago. Anyway, so yeah, so I think it's similar in that way, that we're going out there, we'll put ourselves out there, we want to take the time to kind of explain what we're doing, and maybe be open to change and open to those conversations. And it's the same, like I say, locally or even online with consumers, is just being open to those conversations and being real.
Yeah, absolutely. The reality part of it's really good. How many people, show of hands here, have seen any of these folks on social media? You guys, yeah, look at that, eh? Yeah, lots of people watching what we're up to out there, right? So good job. I've found communicating with consumers is done well by roasting the government and cussing and swearing. Seems to, so, I mean, you guys have got a neat, idea here, but let me tell you how to really do it. So, like, that being said, I guess social media kind of leads into a little bit of technology, and I know, like, especially it's something that you see at a big trade fair like this here, where there's a lot of different things happening in agriculture right now, where we're seeing technology advance things on the farm. So we're just kind of going to go through everybody here and just, like, if everyone could just give me an idea or an example of how you've used technology to maybe progress things on your farm. And if we want to start with you, Lynn, we can go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Okay. I'm kind of in the tech world, so that's a good place to start.
Why would I start with you on that?
Well, and the more I learn, oh man, there's so much opportunity here, just because tech does make our operation way more efficient. I just integrated Climate Field View on my farm this year just to try to track different trials I was up to with fungicides versus yields, varieties, checking that all out. So I like where it's headed. There's lots of improvements to make on every aspect, but let me tell you, there's some great things there that'll help us just improve what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Wade? Where are you guys seeing yourself making advances in technology?
The grain dryer was our biggest thing. I mean, we've always run a grain dryer, but now I can run that grain dryer from my phone. So I think that's probably one of the biggest technology pieces that we use, especially that dryer runs a lot. So rather than babysitting it, now we can watch it from our phone. Technology is great. I mean, everything, all the advancements and everything, but you got to remember it's got to make you money. There's got to be a return on investment. So, and some technology is better on other farms than others, right? So you got to really look at that and make sure it's going to actually have a return there. And now with this new combine, I mean, with the automation and stuff like that, there's another technology upgrade. And we actually bit the bullet and got ourselves a different drill this year, which is one of 12 made right now, and it's the only one south of Peace River, and it's a single rank drill, and that's a massive upgrade in technology for us, so that'll be cool to try as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You see a lot of it going on in a lot of those areas. Specifically, I mean, like, combines have come a long ways from where they used to be, kind of thing. And speaking of grain dryers, how many guys were drying this year? Who was drying? That's enough people drying, right? And there's been some, huge changes in that. And it beats sitting in a 1984 Caprice with the heater running outside of the dryer, just waiting for it to, I can't say, poop the bed. Yeah, have an accident in the bed.
Yeah, no, when you can lie in bed and watch your dryer, it's way better.
Hey, let me tell you, I did that. It was way better than last year, where we had to literally babysit the dryer. And this year, I set my alarm every hour just to make sure the thing was still running, and I would just wake up, roll over, check my phone. It was good, green lights, okay, I'm going back to sleep. So that was, it's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. John?
Well, there's lots of technology going on all the time. It's like right from when I started farming, it's just evolved so much in the last 30 years. So I think for me, technology has always been about something that'll help me out on the farm, something that will make me more efficient as a single operator or whatever. It's kind of the little things, like the dryer is a big one, like Wade said. Like getting a dryer 2 years ago saved my bacon. It was just like unbelievable how great it is. And last year I got it set up with Watchdog as well, where you can look at the phone, and it's just those advancements that make our job easier for sure. And I think it's something that keeps me engaged in farming is technology. It's something that's always, you're wondering what's going to happen next. And it's something that makes it interesting and fun to be part of this industry. So,
yeah. Jessica, what about you?
Okay, well, we definitely value the operational side of the technology too. I have a bit of a different story with this one, and it actually has to do with the communications on our farm. So we have really just found that as we've been building up a stronger management team, sometimes our communication can be way back here. And so actually when I was listening to a farmer panel last year at a farm conference, I heard another farmer mention just a really simple app, piece of technology, which I'm sure many of you are probably already aware of. It's called WhatsApp. And they were using this as a means to have more focused, direct communications on their farm. So I thought, all right, this is a little redundant, but we were in dire straits at the time, and so we ended up creating a management group where we, ended up talking about everything from, planning for the season ahead to marketing, and it became a really useful tool for us, so much so that we actually branched out and we created an agronomy group, and then overall just like an overarching harvest group at the end of the season. And so what I found is that through this really simple piece of technology, it allowed us to have better quality conversations and become more connected as a team as well. So.
Yeah, awesome. Who's got a WhatsApp group? Who's in a WhatsApp group? Who's in 8,000 WhatsApp groups? And I've got my two brothers, and then I got my mom and my dad and my brothers and this guy, and then this guy. So then there's a picture of my nephew eating sweet potatoes that goes to this group, then that group, then that group. And I'm like, I love my nephew, but he's only cute once eating sweet potatoes, and then I've seen it enough. But yeah, group messaging is huge in a lot of situations. What about in the seed world, Greg? Where have you seen big advances in technology?
Well, I'll mirror the WhatsApp. So say my brother, when he's planning our harvest day in the morning, he'll send out, okay, what combines are heading to what fields for what varieties, what clean downs on what combine needs to happen or not happen, what bin are they going to, and so that whole day can be planned out ahead of time. And all of us who are maybe not on the harvest crew, which I'm not, I'm typically more in the yard, then I'm filled in on what the harvest crew's doing and what needs to be done. And so that's been great. As far as like sales tracking and things like that, so we use a cloud-based software called Seed Tracker for all of our seed cleaning, lot processing, and then all of our bookings. So we weigh everything on off the combine across our scale, so we know what rough inventory we have, and then we know the lot processing, so we know exactly what happened with that lot, when it was processed, how much was there, and exactly how much we have to sell based on the bookings that are in the system as well. So that seed tracker's been really good on the seed side for some of that. And then just like we use the Deere software for record keeping and a little bit of farm at hand. Actually doesn't work great in the seed world because we're quite complicated and small lots. We might have
seed grower bragging himself up again.
Yeah. I'll invite you out for a combine clean out, which thankfully I don't have to do as much anymore because my brother takes care of more of that than I do. So he's definitely the harder worker on the farm, but I'm a little bit more of an office boy nowadays. So yeah, so sometimes you have like 15 different things going on in one field, right? So it gets complicated fast. But at least for record keeping, we know what variety was on what field 3 years ago, because we might have 15 different plots in a field, and I might want to go back to a plot 3 years later, and where was that exactly? And then you go with the georeferenced soil sampling and the zones, and so you can adjust your seeding rates and fertility. It's made you be able to prepare for the season a lot better and make a better plan, and help make decisions easier and faster and more reliably, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying is I can lose the Hilroy notebook and pencil and move to something better.
Yes.
I'll work. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate your honesty on that answer.
But sometimes paper notes still work. Like I still have the stupid sticky notes all over my office on the, and that list of people to get back to that's on physical paper. Like sometimes paper still has a place, but having something cloud-based really can help you grow your management and work as a team better than just a one-person show.
You rich bastard, did you just call sticky notes stupid? Who brought this guy on stage?
I'll give you a booklet.
Okay, so it's been an interesting year. So like COVID aside, I think we're going to get to that in a minute here. But I mean, one of the bigger parts I'm sure that everyone would agree with is there's a lot of challenges in agriculture nowadays. And I'd just like to take a minute to run through everybody and just go through maybe one specific challenge that you've faced, let's say in the last year to 2 years, and how you overcame it, and you know, how that maybe affected things around you. Want to get the ball rolling on that one, John?
Okay.
Come on, we've seen combines with wheels off of it, so we know what you got going on out there.
Yeah, oh, well, for sure, definitely. There's challenges. I guess for me, the big thing is being kind of a one-man show lots of times. I think definitely I've had to deal with a lot of challenges in that respect the last few years, but I think I'm getting set up better, so it helps. So I think things have ran smoother, but definitely COVID in the last few months has changed the way we farm and the way we act and the way we do business. I think it's a big challenge to keep those relationships up with the people in the community and the people you do business with, and I think that's been a big challenge. It was something I relied on lots. Being a smaller acre-based farmer, it's kind of one of those things that I always use as a tool, is to kind of, I want to have good relationships with these people because that's my in. And so I think that's been a challenge in the last few months with COVID. And you go to the elevator now and you drop grain off, and you basically, they hand the paper out the door, and that's all you see now. Before, you could sit there and you could visit with the guy that you were hauling to and pick his brain. Oh, what are you taking next week? Or how are things going? And you could use that information to make it easier for you, right? So I think that's a big challenge.
That's actually a really good point. How many guys have found that, or guys and gals have found that? Men, women, it's equal. It's all good. You know, you can get myself in trouble here. How many people have found that? Like specifically delivering to the elevator, you're hauling to the sale ring to cattle. Like, I mean, you brought that up, and I never even thought of it. But like, that has changed day to day for us. Same way with everybody else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like that's a big part of your interaction, is even just sitting there, and like there's 4 guys that show up at the elevator for coffee just find out what you're bringing into them. Oh yeah, Johnny is bringing canola in today. Yeah, that's what he is doing. And that's
14.
14, yeah. 5% green, we saw that, right? But yeah, that's been a really big thing. That's a really good point, actually. I'm glad everybody identifies with that a little bit, because that really has been a thing. You kind of lose that, and that's a part of the way that you do business, especially like at your sale rings and at your elevators and stuff like that. Yeah, Wade. Challenges?
Oh, for sure. Our biggest challenge has obviously been the weather, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is.
That is not true. You can carbon tax it. We'll maybe leave that one alone. Yeah, we'll leave that one alone. Okay.
So for us, I mean, there's nothing really you can do throughout the growing season with the amount of rain and stuff that you get, but the grain dryer, come back to the grain dryer again, I mean, that has taken a lot of the stress away for my brother and I, and just having that thing available, it's changed the way we farm. We no longer let Mother Nature decide when we're going to harvest.
Yeah, so having that peace of mind and just being like, yeah, I know it's not ready, but we're taking that wheat now, today, it's happening. Yeah. And you don't have to wait, and you don't have to wonder, and you just spool it up. Show of hands, in the last 3 years, who's bought and installed a grain dryer? We're one of them. Who already had one? Yeah. See, they're really turning into a big part of the tool of what we do, right? Lynn?
Oh,
Challenges. Challenge accepted.
Well, that time we broke the X9, how about that one?
That sounds delicious. Let's go with that one.
We're just going to leave that one be. I don't want to offend anyone. But we broke it. But no, challenges. Oh man, where do I start? You know, I got into farming way back when, and I learned to say never. I have friends laughing at me because 10, 12 years ago, I was like, I don't need a grain cart. I'll never need that, right? Well, weather changed. We were no longer, we used to unload on the go in the field with our big trucks. That's just how it was done. I didn't think I needed to change, and then all of a sudden, equipment gets bigger, yields get bigger. Hell, I need a grain cart. Mm-hmm. So I went and bought one. And then I figured, no, I'll never need a grain dryer. Got away with it for years and years and years. Well, last year broke me. I'm like, that's it. I need a grain dryer. So there's always challenges. It's nonstop. But we always find, that's the best part about farmers. We're always so resilient. We're always looking to figure out how to make it work, right? We'll jimmy rig it if we have to, and we get by another year and hope that it's better next year. So Yeah, I don't know. I've got lots of different challenges. I could go on about other stories, but I'll leave out that.
Thank you for using Jimmy Rig. I appreciate that. Greg, some challenges over on Stamp Seeds there that you've overcome in the last little while?
Yeah, I would say so that we've had a tremendous period of growth in our farm and our business over the past 10 years. So that's been great. But what comes with that is some challenges on actually keeping yourself organized and focused and working together as a team. And that's been the biggest challenge is how do we get all three brothers? And you know how it is farming with family. It's not always easy, right? So how do you get everyone on the same page and working in the same direction? And that's been the biggest challenge. And for me, that's been the toughest because, you know, 5 years ago, it was my wife and myself and my parents, or sorry, not 5 years ago, more than that. But prior to my brothers coming back to the farm, it was just, it was a little bit simpler. When they come back to the farm, then it gets a little bit more complicated. And we all have our specific roles, but just how you make decisions together, how you work together, and where you go, and everyone's tolerance for risk, it's all different. So that's my personal biggest challenge because in the business, the opportunities keep coming, but how do we function as a team together for the long term? That's my biggest challenge.
That's actually a really good one. You guys all like agree with that? You guys find that too? How many people in the audience are actually working on a family farm with more than one person that's involved in calling the shots? Your wife counts because she's got to call the shots with you too, right? Or your husband, whoever's calling the shots there, right? But that's the different levels of risk tolerance is actually like a really good point because how do you find that common ground between you and your partners being like, yeah, no, it's okay. Let's go buy that combine or let's buy a grain dryer this year kind of thing. Some guys are okay with it, some guys aren't.
Or, let's not expand this year or let's not do this. This opportunity comes up. How do we say no to that? Like some people just say, well, let's do it. And other people say, well, I'm busy enough. You know? Yeah,
absolutely. Have you find that has that put some stress on your family? Because you guys run a fairly tight-knit family operation there, right?
Oh, for sure. It's difficult to say no to things. Like when it's like, well, this could work, and it's like, okay, let's slow down. Let's, you know, maybe we're not ready for that yet, or that's another jump, and then it causes this and this and this. So sometimes just saying yes to that next chunk of land to rent or something, it poses more challenges than you realize. But really stepping up from that. You know, going from that one combine operation to then 2 and now 3, it just, you know, that's a big jump to go from there, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that difficult to say no to things. I've been told no for dates for like the last 30 times I asked, so.
My bankers used to say no a lot. It's gotten better over time.
Bankers, yeah, not a chance,
I got used to rejection on the banker side.
My husband just shuts off the two-way radio. He's like, that's enough of you.
Genius, yeah. I don't know, the fuse blew in it. I don't know, I can tell you, yeah.
But on the other side of that, though, looking at it from the outside, Greg, you're lucky to have those people to bounce those opinions and things off of. So for me, a lot of times I don't have those people to talk to and to kind of hash through things. So you can use that as an advantage big time too, right? As you have those different opinions and different knowledge.
Well, and that, I see the opportunity of how valuable that is and so that's why that's my biggest challenge to overcome is because I see how valuable it is. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for you. You're involved like on a fairly big family operation, Jessica. Like, do you kind of find that same kind of thing happening with different like levels of risk tolerance on your family farm?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that we have really learned this year through, you know, a pretty humbling season for everybody was just the importance of really separating sometimes your personal relationships on the family farm from your managerial or your professional relationships. And there's been times throughout, especially this year, when both have really been required, you know, when we have needed to step up as a team and, you know, make real explicit decisions, you know, but other times when we need to kind of like step into our family mode and just, you know, be there for each other through some of the challenges that are just going on for everyone this year, it seems like.
Yeah, so being able to draw that line is a really important part of it, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Any huge challenges you can think of off the top of your head that you guys really had to buckle down and overcome in the last little while?
Well, it's funny, Greg actually mentioned, you know, just knowing where to step into new opportunities and where to choose those, you know, accordingly. And so we actually, we have a really young and energetic team on the farm, and I'm really thankful for that. But we have branched out pretty quick into some different areas, and this year we really had to pick and choose. And we stepped back from a couple opportunities, you know, in cattle, and my sister and I didn't do our flower business this year, but we did actually step into pursue a new piece of land and rental land, which was, you know, it's always kind of exciting because new land isn't always easy to come by. But I should tell you, this one wasn't your typical piece of ready-to-go farmland. It was, in fact, a pasture piece that had never before been broken, and so we really had our work cut out for us, and we decided that that was the one that we wanted to pursue and go for as a team. And boy, oh boy, yeah, it presented its challenges, and we had our own personal cattle graveyard that needed to be cleaned up, and we had endless amounts of other treasures. And
Well, that's not morbid.
but we pulled together as a team, and we put our heads together and decided that we were going to clean up the field, spray it down, and then direct seed it to Roundup Ready canola this year. And that was a big risk for us, just working on a super short timeline. We weren't sure if it was actually going to come together okay. And of course, the piece had to be on a pretty prominent corner, and so you got your neighbors driving by, wondering what the heck you're up to.
Neighbors don't do that, do they?
But, I'll never forget. It was really neat. We were all nerves through the season, but it was the last field we harvested Thanksgiving weekend, and I had a chance to actually run a test strip across the field in my combine, and I had my brother-in-law with me, had my cousin there in the field as well, and it was a really proud moment for us. I can't say it was like the biggest canola crop that we've ever seen. There are still definitely a few places that didn't work out, but going into the next season, I think this was a risk that we're happy we took, and now we're going to be able to put it directly into rotation. So
Awesome. Yeah, great story. That's great. So COVID specific now, we want to talk about some things, and I kind of want to focus a little bit more on a few of you that actually have kids in school, because I think that was some things that maybe changed things around a little bit, and I think that made some big changes on a lot of people's agricultural operations. So, like, Lynn, did that affect your guys' operation at all of a sudden, like just bang, the kids are going to be home?
Yeah, that was like, please take them back. I sent them back as soon as those doors are open. But it's just so hard. They don't listen. And they enjoy it. It did change things. Definitely made us more aware of what needs to happen, or, what risks are you willing to take more than anything. But at the end of the day, I guess being on a farm, they're pretty darn lucky because they haven't noticed the big changes. I'm from our small town. Even now, if you go to a grocery store without a mask, you're not judged, really. It's kind of an option. So because we're like that, they haven't noticed big impacts, but we also had to take them everywhere with us, right? So seeding this year, the kids were with us. They're everywheres. And so we'll put one in a tractor over there, one even in the sprayer. Grandpa, take this one. I don't,
Yeah.
pawning them off now, if you want one.
It's a lottery in the morning, or what?
It's just well, all right, what do I get for? I got a 4-year-old, I got a 4-year-old,
Exactly. But
right on.
It's good.
Yeah, no, thanks, Lynn. What about you, Wade? You've got some younger ones there. How did that affect you guys?
Yeah, well, when COVID hit, it was March, so I was pretty quiet. So I was able to help out quite a bit, which was great. My wife, she's a graphic designer, marketing director, so she works from home, which is great. But it's also not when you're trying to run a business from home. But so I was able to help out lots. I mean, we live on the farm. I mean, like Lynn said, we're very fortunate. We were able to get outside, go snowmobiling, skating, and things like that. So it was easy, I guess. And then
A bunch of people out there right now are like, you shut up. It was easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, and now going into the winter now, we'll see what's going to happen, but same thing. I mean, I'm starting to quiet down, so if something does happen, I mean, I'm there for the kids and for Sabrina, so, yeah.
Yeah, you grain farmers say, yeah, well, we're just kind of good there now, so I'll be around. Greg, you got a little baby factory going on over there. So how'd things treat you with COVID and the family there?
Yeah, so we've got 6 kids, but thankfully my wife stays home with the kids because it allows me
We found someone that can't say no.
Yeah. The Suburban's full though, so we're maxed out on seats. But the oldest is 15, so she's almost driving there, so that'll solve that problem soon. But so this spring, it was we were quite stressed out, like as a farm, because with quite a few employees and all that, we were worried. No one knew how it would impact places being shut down, and servicing of the seed suppliers, our seed customers. So we were quite scared and quite locked down a bit, and so that was a big challenge with COVID. But this summer probably had more family time than normal because we were traveling less to things. And then now this fall, actually, so my oldest two are in junior high and high school. They're in school. And then my wife's homeschooling the next two children to get them kind of caught up, because the younger ones just kind of, it seemed like we were doing what we were supposed to be doing, but they kind of fell behind in school a little bit. So she's trying to get them caught up. And we were worried about, classes being shut down a little bit. So we hadn't done that before, so we're homeschooling two of the kids and two of them in school, and then the two younger ones. My youngest is 1, so it's, yeah, life's okay. Life's good.
that's good that life is good, right on. What about you, John?
So my youngest is 18, so I kind of saw it from maybe a little different perspective there. But still, she was going away to university this year. She was supposed to go to Mount Royal, and so now she's at home kind of doing homeschooling basically for university, like a lot of them are. So I think for me it was more I'm sad for her that she's not able to experience that, to go out and do that. So I think but as far as the family itself, it's actually nice to have her home. So yeah. It's kind of one of those things, like, I feel bad that she can't go, but it's kind of cool that we get her for another year, right? So I'm kind of at that point, and the older ones are all off and doing their own thing already. So actually, during the initial part of COVID, because my one daughter's in Calgary, she came home quite often because they isolated in Calgary, and we were their group. So we got to spend a whole bunch of time in March and April with them, and our whole family was together, which we hadn't done for quite a while. So there were some positives early on that we were able to kind of rebuild our family group, and actually we really enjoyed it. So there was some positives for sure.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. And I guess, like, children aside kind of thing, Jessica, because you guys have a little bit older of an age group on your farm there, but how did you find it was interacting with each other, or like being able to be in groups versus out of groups kind of thing? Did you guys feel that operations changed much, or did things stay pretty much steady there?
I think these guys just summed it up so well. And I really have been so thankful to be out in the country on a farm during the circumstances. And yeah, honestly, didn't change too much for us, I guess, aside from, supply chain delays and things like that, shutdowns. But, one of the things that I found that was just so helpful for me this year, as I don't have, kids or anything like that, but having friends who are also in the farming community, specifically some awesome girlfriends who are just really, kept things lighthearted, who are also in similar scenarios out in the country, maybe a little bit more isolated and couldn't always be around each other, but, just supporting each other from afar, like that made such a difference this year for me, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. How many girlfriends specifically, and do you have their numbers? Maybe we'll talk later about that. We'll keep that off the stage. Yeah. Any undue stress on the family? Like, was it a big stressful event having everybody at home, especially, like, say, Greg, for someone that's got quite a few kids kicking around, or were you just like, yes, free labor, let's go?
The kids wanted to stay pretty caught up with school, so that it was just a little bit of a challenge getting everyone's head wrapped around that. But once that was okay. But like if my wife was working full time out of the home, then that would definitely be more challenging. So thankfully we weren't in that situation. But if that was the case, it would have been really quite a bit more stressful, because our front office person, then her son's daycare, right? And so it just complicated a lot of people's lives, and so. It definitely created some challenges in general, I think, and thankfully we didn't get the brunt of it, but there was definitely people where it impacted a lot, like our front office person and her son's daycare. So
yeah, absolutely. Lynn, no marital stress with all the kids being home and just everybody wanting to rip their heads off all the time? Everything was all good? No comment. Yeah. Sensitive subject, I guess.
Just remember, Ryan's out there.
I know. Is he listening?
Yeah, Ryan,
I don't know where he is.
Right.
But it's always hard when I'm trying to take a business call and I got a 3-year-old. I'm like holding the door closed to my office because he's trying to get in, and he's like, tweet. Like, no, not right now. Just give me 5 minutes, right? Like, so it's hard, but you make do. It's fun. They're only so long.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess just kind of tying in to just kind of wrap things up a little bit here. Everyone's quite active on social media, and I think it's something that we're really starting to see a lot, and a lot of people are, kind of reinventing the wheel with sales versus social media and some stuff. But I've seen a lot of things where I think social media is really starting to affect relationships with our families. And like, I mean, I'd start with you, Wade. Is it like, do you find yourself, I mean, your kids are a little bit young for it right now, but do you find that they're more interested in the farm and more interested in what's going on because it's kind of under the social media umbrella a little bit more, and like the words are getting out there a little more about what we're doing?
Yeah, so social media is great for me, for the family-wise. My 2 daughters are very young yet, but from the rest of my family, my mom is from Nova Scotia, so we have a whole ton of family on the East Coast. And so how they stay connected with the farm is through my Instagram account, and that's a big reason why I have it, is so that our whole family can see what the farm is doing, and they can keep up day to day and just kind of see what we're up to. But for when the girls get older, and if the Instagram and everything is still going, I mean, you look at these 2 girls up on stage with us, and I might get emotional here talking about it, but for what these 2 girls are doing, running a farm with all these guys, I mean, it's awesome to see, and it hopefully will give my daughters just a look into the future of an opportunity that they can do. I mean, they look at dad and uncle and their grandpa. I mean, they were all farmers and they're boys. But then, I mean, you look at Jess and Lynn up here. I mean, they farm more land than I do, and they're doing a hell of a job at it. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, really good point. How do you feel, Lynn, like knowing that there's a lot of young girls out there like watching what you do and being like, hey, I can do that, or this is something that I really want to get involved in because they see what you're doing? Does that go through your mind when you're doing a lot of your social media stuff, or do you still kind of do you?
I do me a lot, but I definitely keep that in mind. People are watching, and you want to be a good role model for them, but it is good. You can say, hey, you have the full capabilities to do this as well. So it's nice to give them someone to look up to. And you know what? I'm proud of that. It's kind of a privilege. And I just like to encourage them.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your take on that, Jessica? Like whether you like it or not, there's a lot of young girls out there that are watching what you're doing and be like, that's what I want to do, or I want to be that way. Like, does that cross your mind when you do a lot of your posts, or do you just try and be you and it just is what it is?
Got to be honest, this was kind of a neat conversation that you brought up around this subject, and I can't say it's one that's crossed my mind a whole lot, but it's important to give some thought to. Definitely something I'm going to consider more of going into the future. And I think there's a lot of different pressures around social media. I'm still learning about it a lot, but learning to find the balance between being vulnerable, being authentic, telling your own story, and just being good with that, knowing that it doesn't have to look a certain way just because you think it should. That's all things I'm still learning about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. How do you find it, Greg, with social media, with interaction with your families? Do you feel like your kids are more interested in what you're doing because you've got a platform that they can kind of be a part of now? Or is that a factor at all?
Once in a while, they'd be like, I don't want that picture going somewhere. Don't post that. So a little bit of that, but generally I would say my social media policy is assume your grandma and your banker and your insurance company's watching your tweets and whatnot, because it'll keep you a little bit grounded.
I never thought of that. I'm gonna go delete some videos.
So, but on the flip side of that, I mean, I'm not going to post, the big mistake that I made or the big loss I had because I guessed wrong on the wrong variety or stuff like that. So we kind of, social media ends up being that thing of perfection, right? Happy marriage, happy family, good farming, everything's working well, right? The banker's happy, your wife's happy, all that. So when in reality, we all know that it's not always that way, but on social media it always is. So I think and that's with the kids thing and the family, is I may post those things, but I really want to talk frankly to my kids and treat them as little adults and say, okay, here's what we're dealing with, here's why we made that decision, here's what happened, and here's how we're dealing with it. And so I'm trying to be really cognizant about that. And I'm limiting my kids' social media access quite a bit more than most parents who are a bit more locked down. So we'll see how that works.
I'm going to bug you, Greg. I want to know all your mistakes. So
let's just spend the next 20 minutes letting everybody know how you screw everything up, and don't tell us about it.
Yeah, we'll start an anonymous Twitter account with all the failure farm wrecks or whatever. Yeah.
My girlfriends and I, we have kind of something we call the rock track confessional. And so it's been during harvest, you know, we have these stories that they don't really go anywhere outside the group, but there are some gems in there about definitely things that have gone wrong for sure.
That's good. I say so. Like I've done a few of them, and I feel like they're the funner ones to do, and they're just minute videos. I did one called the Dry Slough Dumbass, where you think you can make it through the slough and you get buried, and it was kind of fun to do. But like I've noticed, John, I noticed you do a lot of that stuff where like you'll post something where something's just completely screwed up just as fast as you will when something's good. Why do you do that?
My wife's not on Twitter. No. I guess in those situations, like I try to take it as good as I can. You know, it's always tough when things break down or whatever happened. But so for me, it's a way of, it's almost a release in a way. You're kind of like, oh, geez, this happened. You're kind of mad. You're down and out. It's like, oh, I'm just going to post this. And people are so good. They'll respond back. And it does help me to feel better. But it's also sharing the true side of what goes on a farm, right? It's not, like I say, you don't want it all be a highlight reel. It's not realistic, and it's not a true picture of what farming is about. So I think for us as farmers to share the true picture of what we're going through, it is more endearing to people to see, and not that, oh, it's all rosy and like, oh yeah, look at this beautiful crop and the grains going. It's like, oh, that's awesome, right? But then it's like, oh crap, the wheel fell off the combine and I'm like trying to jack it up, and it's like taking me like half a day, and I'm waiting for parts, and stuff just happens, right? So it's part of the reality. You got to mix in the reality with the good times, and it just shows people kind of the true whole picture of what farming's about. And honestly, people respond to those screw ups or those way more. Like, you'll get way more traction out of that. People are talking about it and commenting and laughing, or even sharing their own screw ups, and it'll actually open up that avenue, and it's just kind of makes it a little more real and more genuine, I think. So
Who's more inclined to look at a post or watch a video or like something where somebody has completely bastardized something? I am. Ah, look at it, see? Does that make you feel better about like what's gone on your operation? If you see John post something or whatever, it's just like, well, I guess I don't have it that bad today.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Makes me feel better. But some of those people come back with great advice or tips, even how they fixed it, or if you had the same problem. So it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, personally, I've found a lot where I'll put something where something's completely screwed up, but then you'll get 3 or 4 other people being like, oh yeah, well look at what happened here today. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, aren't we just a bunch of failures all together? And you feel better about it, right? We're winding down really close on time here, so I just kind of wanted to take a moment to open up to the audience, like not emotionally. I'm going to keep my one feeling inside. But has anybody got any questions that they want to ask? Any of the people on stage or myself? There's just a couple of minutes left here. Don't feel shy. Raise your hands. Go ahead, Chair.
There's a mic back there.
Oh, Jeremy's got you covered. Have you got a hockey stick you can put the mic on, Jeremy?
Can't touch it. It's only got to be Calgary Flames. Oh, I can't touch it. Okay, sorry. 2 things. I'm kind of out of the industry a little bit, but from the agronomy world, so it's awesome to see younger people really develop and keep that farmland sustained. And quick, Dick, I got a couple things for you.
Oh, great.
First one is we really appreciated your Remembrance Day story of Jack, and that was awesome to recognize, and we forget that way too often. So we appreciated that, and the more stories we hear, it'll keep that history alive for us. And the second is, you're a catch. You gotta find someone, you can't be so defined.
Well, would you like to take over managing that side of my life for me? That'd be fantastic. I seem to be botching it. Was there a question there? Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, thanks so much. Anybody else? Sure, go ahead.
My name's Helen.
Hi,
I'm
Helen.
a sport massage therapist.
Oh.
I want to know what you guys do to keep your bodies working.
That's a great question. I've done a video on it, so I'm gonna let somebody else go ahead. Wade, how do you keep them packs tight there?
High metabolism. I've got a gym at home in my garage, so I use it quite a bit. Just stay active. I mean, rather than taking a golf cart or whatever it may be across the yard, just just walk and just eat properly, and yeah, that's about it. But yeah, we do have a gym at home, so that helps a lot.
Lynn, I think we catch you on the odd yoga post here and there.
Oh yeah, I love it. But seriously, I'd probably get a bigger workout from shoveling grain, as I'm sure most of you do. My husband just happens to be allergic to grain, so I end up doing it.
Convenient.
I don't even know why I married him sometimes. I don't know, but no, he's pretty handy in other ways, but we won't go there.
Family show, family show.
Okay, now I'm lost, and now I'm flustered.
What about you, Greg? How do you get a break from the keyboard?
Well, you really don't. But, yeah, what, you can tell or what? Yeah, I don't do as much physical work as I used to, so it has been more challenging. And my workout machine's more of a laundry hanger, actually. So we do ski a lot in the winter, so that's part of it. But I definitely could do more. My biggest challenge is when I'm doing that, all I can think about is that email I forgot to respond to, or that text, so that's the biggest challenge. Is if you are more in the office, you're always thinking about that stuff. So that's my biggest challenge, is getting a routine to do something like that. So
yeah, you could be like me and not respond to the email. If anyone's waiting for me to email them back, sorry. Jessica, what do you guys do out there to keep yourselves right?
Well, I've got to say that through the years, sometimes that stress can just build up like crazy, especially during certain times of the season. And this year, I actually made a pact to myself during harvest that I was going to run and get outside and run in the mornings, which, it's not always possible to do. The days get pretty long. But honestly, I can say that really helped, the days that I did that, and then cut down on coffee a bit too. I just felt like I had more energy, more focused energy to bring to the table, and yeah, I'd really like to continue, integrating that into the busy seasons in the future for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I cut down on coffee and started drinking beer at about 2. That works good for me. John, I saw you doing crunches this morning. Hey, a couple of deep lunges. How do you keep yourself right?
Well, actually, I coach my daughter's fastball team, so that has looked different the last little while, but still we're getting out and doing that. So to try to keep up with all those kids running around and doing their thing, it's actually a pretty good workout for me. I've coached now for going on 10 years, so that's pretty much my whole exercise program, is doing that, so all summer. So it has helped quite a bit, but definitely over winter it gets pretty tough. Coming into spring, all of a sudden you can be a little lacking of energy, and it takes a while to get into the swing of things again. So I think having some type of routine going into spring, I think could be beneficial for us, probably, to kind of have a better year and better start.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question.
Can
We
I-
got any other questions? We got one more. Sorry, what?
I was just going to jump in real quick. It's not so much maintaining your body as well. It's also your mental. I mean, when I go to the gym, you're also taking your mind off the farm, taking your mind off everything, just for that 1 hour, and just concentrate on something else for a little bit.
Really good point. And so everybody knows, Leslie Kelly's going to be speaking here. Is it 2, Jeremy? 2:30? Yeah. Stick around and listen to her talk. She talks a lot about some great mental health issues there. Let's go.
Yeah, I guess comment on the times we're in now. Everybody's negative about what's going on, and our lives has changed dramatically. But there is some positives. Like, I know this year, personally, my wife and myself, we got to quarantine with our 2 grandkids for 2 weeks this spring, and their mother was working from home, so we luckily have good enough internet that worked. And then also in the summer, there's friends of ours, 11-year-old son, come out to the farm and hung around with me a few days, and a lot of gophers died, and he learned how to drive the old pickup. And he never would have had opportunity to do that because he had no school. And they're busy. He's spends a week with mom, a week with dad, and it's hard for him to get out. Well, he got an opportunity that he probably never would have got. So I feel quite blessed because my grandkids are little, my kids are growing up, got a chance to help somebody out. Maybe I'll have a farmhand one day.
Really good point. What's your name again, sir?
Trent Clark.
Trent? Yeah, great point, Trent. And that's it. It hasn't all been doom and gloom from what's gone on. I think there's been some really positive things come out of this between family and through business. Some hasn't been the greatest, but some have been stuff that you kind of focus on a little more, so I don't think it's all been horrible. It has been fantastic, but I think that's probably going to be it.
Oh, when you're single, right? It's
Yeah,
hard.
that's really super awesome. Make shopping real. Let's not talk about it. So that's probably it for questions. I think that's probably going to be it, actually. I think we're over budget on time, but we did good because it's a bunch of farmers talking, and because we don't have an entire pot of coffee up here or another beer each, then we're probably like, well, let's just shut it down. But just another really big thanks to everybody, of course, for coming to do this, and I hope you guys got a little bit out of it, and it made you feel good in the feel goods kind of thing. Big thanks to Jeremy and to Thunderstruck Ag and the Thanks for Farming Tour for putting this on and giving us the opportunity to come out and say, hey, we can all still be responsible and deal with this and have a good time and do what we do. Because it's really important. Getting off the farm can be pretty important sometimes, and everybody being respectful of each other here is just a really good statement that we can make to the world, saying, hey, this is not going to go away for a little while, but we can still be cool about it and still kind of enjoy ourselves, right? So thanks so much, everybody, for coming, and man, enjoy the rest of the show. And Leslie Kelly's going to be speaking here at 2:30, and go buy some shit. Oh, I made it to this minute.